Hey everyone, rudyxx here to talk about the game Venus and Braves for a bit. As many of you might know, I've been working on a series called RPGalooza, where I've been playing through a huge list of RPGs in an effort to share my feelings with the world about some of the more known as well as lesser known RPGs out there. While the goal of RPGalooza is to finish up all the games on the list, I actually added a few games on there that I, for one reason or another, didn't want to play through the game but still wanted to share the game with the world. So I really only played the game for a few hours to capture some footage to use for this video. Venus and Braves is the first on that list of one-day only games because it's kind of an incredibly boring game in my opinion. Before the game came out back in 2003, I had been keeping up with its development a little bit and was excited about it enough that I actually ordered the special edition of the game that came with some figures, a soundtrack, and I forgot what else. I was pretty hyped about it. But in all honesty, I wasn't really sure what the gameplay was like because the only thing I'd seen was dialogue screens and a couple of battle screenshots. Unfortunately, that's literally all the game really is. I'm not a huge fan of graphic novel type games, so this game actually was a huge letdown for me. The text in the game drags on, and on, and on, and on, and on, to the point where I start to doubt if there was any gameplay to begin with, or if it was all just a fever dream. If you're into graphic novels though, the story is fairly decent. You play as a warrior that was granted immortality and follow along in his journey. The characters along the way die of old age, or die in battle, and new ones are brought in as you progress through events. Through the earlier part of the game, you can recruit members in town to join along in your ranks, or eventually you unlock the ability to have members of your party get married and have children who eventually can join your ranks that way. So for the most part, your group is constantly changing. While this doesn't have too much of an effect on the overall story, it does have a major impact on the part of the game that isn't just dialogue. Eventually you can travel the lands, defeating monsters and gaining equipment or items that might help you along in your journey. The battles are pretty simple. You set up to 7 characters out on a 3x4 grid and then basically go AFK. At the end of every round you can rotate your character's placement on the grid, but a majority of the time that plays out pretty unfavorably. There are some interesting setups involving the use of the rotate mechanic, and towards the end of the game you'd be making use of it a lot more often, but for the majority of the game the battles are pretty automated. I never really could get into this game as much as I wanted to, and it's a shame it turned out to be so incredibly boring for me. Despite the fact that I only played it for RPGalooza long enough to capture some footage, I did play through most of the game years ago, and so my rating for this is going to be based solely on that. For RPGalooza, I'm giving Venus and Braves a 1 out of 5. I'm just not a fan of this style of game. I know there's a lot of people out there that enjoy this sort of graphic novel style, but I prefer to be a lot more engaged in what is going on, or I eventually just stop playing and lose interest. Venus and Braves isn't really a bad game, it's just not my cup of tea. And thanks for watching the video, everyone. If you liked what you saw, or just want to keep up with the RPGalooza series, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out my Twitch TV channel as I play through the games live at twitch.tv/rudyxx. Take care everyone, and until next time, happy gaming everyone!